riders, Moto Journo Kris here today, and I'm here at the Harley Davidson Sportster S launch. This is an incredible new model from Harley Davidson, very much kind of breaking the Harley mold, way more performance, way more technology, really high spec machine. Probably the last bike that I tested that I really loved that was in a similar kind of form was the FXDR, and that was a really impressive machine. However, on this bike here, we've got a way more accessible option. Obviously, a little bit more affordable if that matters to you, but a lot more tech, really good performance, lighter, easy thing to jump onto, nice low seat height, which is going to be really inviting to so many riders. Really impressive machine. I'm going to give some more in-depth thoughts, and we've got some really cool footage of the bike. It's just been a short loop today. However, it's been enough to get a bit of a feel for the machine and come away super impressed because it's a really fun, kind of enjoyable machine, very much Harley Davidson, but I got to say the engine characteristic is something really different. It's really nice. It's still got a bit of the rawness to it, but they've certainly gone very high tech. And I haven't ridden the Pan America, so unfortunately I can't make the comparison between the two models. However, this is just something that's really standing out to me, and I've got to applaud Harley Davidson for what they've done. So here are my more in-depth thoughts. So you can check out a write-up of my thoughts at mcnews.com.au, but I also thought I'd talk about my impression of the new Harley Davidson Sportster S here as well. The Sportster S and the Pan America, which it shares an engine with, represent a big step in performance and technology in many ways for Harley. The Revolution Max 1250 seems ready to take on all comers and gives Harley something properly powerful for those more interested in performance. It is worth noting though, the Sportster S gets 121 horsepower to the Pan America's 150, with both having variable valve timing, and the 1250T version of the Revolution Max having a number of differences for this specific application. It's not just a retune compared to the Pan Am. It seems likely we'll see the power plant featured across more models in the future, although Harley are close-lipped about this topic. From a price perspective, it's also a big step up from something like the Iron 1200 here in Australia, being almost 10k more at $26,495 on the road. So while the Sportster S offers a lot, there's a price tag to match this change of direction. Again, this is a very short inner city ride impression, so we missed out on the open roads and higher speed twisties, but still gave an interesting insight into the new model. Straight up, the Sportster S weighs in at 228 kilos at the curb with a low 754mm seat height and forward controls, fairly low and flat bars, and a comfortable single seat. For me at 180 centimeters with a 32-inch inseam and weighing about 70 kilos, I'd say it was ideal with a nice stretch to my legs, easy reach to the bars, and again a comfortable seat. On the bike, I've got that slight hunch of my shoulders, which is natural, but I'm not a huge guy, and the bike actually does look quite diminutive under me, funnily enough, in the pictures at least. I wasn't cramped though, and overall comfort was good. However, this wasn't a full day in the saddle, just a couple of hours including photo shoots. That weight was also well balanced, and realistically the Sportster S weighs little more than the entry-level Street 500, offering an easy handling characteristic with a predictable transition onto the side of the tyre at city speeds that we tested in. And for someone who doesn't ride cruisers all the time, that did mean a little more input to get the bike leant over. However, it became natural quickly, and certainly the forward controls were the easiest I've used. Suspension felt premium and well sorted for the Sydney conditions, with fully adjustable forks and shock fitted in a premium addition to the bike. And while that excludes higher speed testing through the nicer twisties outside of Sydney, which will no doubt be a common example of nice riding roads people take this machine on, I was impressed. The few harsher shocks I felt through the rear were still well handled, although this tends to compound the longer you ride and the worse the roads are, so hopefully that extends to 5 or even 8-hour days on the bike on rougher roads. Brakes are from Brembo, and for a cruiser I thought it was a good setup, if the rear a little weaker than expected, mainly because so many cruisers have more powerful rear brakes than front. Again, keeping in mind speeds were mainly 80 km per hour or lower. For the large part, there wasn't a heap of heavy or extended braking, but they certainly did the job in these relaxed circumstances. Grip from the HD tyres was also good, with the exception of a slippery section of bus lane where the traction control came into play in sport mode when the rear stepped out. Naturally, when you don't end up on your ass, that just adds to the excitement, and it did prompt me to switch to wet or rain mode, which noticeably reduces throttle response and is ideal for slippery conditions. In a way, the Sportster S feels like a more accessible FXDR 114. It's far more affordable, torque is a little down but power is up, and certainly it's a far more technological feeling engine with a bit more refinement and smoother, freer revving nature, trading off a bit of that raw Harley V2 character as a result. Plus, it's significantly lighter on paper, feels significantly lighter in the person, including in the handling and in washing off speed regardless of the method you use. A couple of criticisms were the water thrown up my back from the rear wheel and a little noticeable heat at a standstill hitting my inner thigh on one side, despite the cool day. I do wonder whether a freer flowing exhaust may help there, as the modern collectors tend to bottle heat up tremendously. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind some wider bar and mirror lenses, but overall there wasn't a lot to fault in the short test through Sydney. Naturally, the big question is whether this will remain the same with some longer days in the saddle and more varied riding conditions, which I'll have to wait and see about when I get my hands on the Sportster S for a bit more time in early 2022. Certainly, I think the Sportster S and of course the Pan America open up new options for those who may otherwise have not felt Harley offered a bike really up their alley, but they are also pretty premium machines. Hopefully we also see some more affordable entry-level machines that move in a similar direction to help younger, less well-off riders interested in the merits of their machines rather than purely on the Harley image which sells itself. But we'll have to wait and see. Certainly initial impressions are good from my perspective, but I'm sure some traditionalist Harley owners are shaking their heads. The conundrum here is keeping the traditionalists happy while staying with the times and not being left behind, and with people generally being resistant to change, that's a difficult line to walk. I know I was impressed by the first announcement of the Bronx and heard the same from many younger riders, with its subsequent cancellation very disappointing personally. The Sportster S offers similar performance as what was mentioned for the Bronx, though, and could well be a basis for such a machine rather than needing a different lower capacity engine, which is going to help Harley from a production perspective and hopefully help keep costs down. We'll just have to wait and see where things go, of course. So let me know your thoughts about the Harley Sportster S in the comments below. Do you reckon they've nailed it, or was there something else that you're expecting with this major update of really the most iconic of Harley models? As always, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.